We are Si and Sophie. This is Coastal News, a home and away podcast, your weekly episode companion podcast for your favourite Aussie soap.
Sorry I'm late, Sophie.
Oh, dramas.
Bree was here. She was just trying to say she'd stop by and watch the recording, and she'd bring food, and then she'd come by on the break, and then she'd have surprise snacks. And I'm like, go away, bunny boiler.
I'll take the snacks, but I don't want the spying.
Give me the snacks. The trail mix, I'm a rack off.
Can't have my wine. Hands off the wine, Bree. Sorry, it's mine. Oh dear.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
All right. Yes. I'm good. It's the weekend. It's pod day.
It is.
We could be worse, couldn't we?
We could be worse. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. How's life in Sophie's world been this week? You had a good one?
Yeah, it's not been too bad. It's been busy at work, but bearable busy rather than just horrendously busy, as it has been in July. It's been a bit more bearable. So yeah, no, not too bad. Nothing exciting really to report that I can think of.
You went to a gig, Oh,
that was last week. Yeah.
Not since our listeners have heard, though.
I went to see Limp Bizkit in Halifax on Sunday night, and it was mega. And I was on the front row and crushed beyond belief, but it was great. It was ace.
That was fun.
Yes, that was indeed fun. And I'm still bruised a week later, but there we go. Yeah.
And just to contrast your rock and roll lifestyle, I went to bingo.
I still haven't been to bingo. It's on my bucket list. Damn it.
I mean, your bucket list needs some work, love.
I know, right? Ticking off all the wrong items here. Bingo. That's what I need to do. Did you have a win or
a tenner?
A tenner.
Tenner.
That's no bad.
Well, it's no good either.
It's better than nothing.
It is. Yeah, I'm not going to scoff, but yes, better luck next time. Home and away this week.
Yes. It's
better
been on.
Next time.
It's been on. I've watched it and it's been on the TV.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
what
about
about
it.
What about you?
Some things to say.
Oh dear.
Yeah, much of the same.
It's been less dramatic, let's put it that way, than it has been for a few weeks. So
there's been some moments.
Yes.
We'll get on to. You can't have, high dramas constantly, can you?
No, exactly. Yeah.
We can try, but can you? On that note, do you want your headlines then? Should we crack on?
Yeah.
Flick wants to help find her attacker. Marley goes against all medical advice. Xander finally wakes up and smells that sweet, sweet coffee. Right after he... Bree has some choice words for Mercedes. And John is out of hospital, but I reckon it'll be a while before he goes home, don't you?
Please take the time to like, subscribe, and review Coastal News wherever you source your podcasts and ensure you never miss an episode.
Flick's not going, she's struggling with his counting, it's not going well at all. And actually, I'm a bit surprised that this is the direction we've gone in with this. I thought we turned a corner last week. I don't know about you. She seemed to open up. She agreed to go to the counselling. There was that big apology that you and I applauded, to Tani when, she was, not that she had so much to say sorry for, but we said that was a sign of character growth. And then we revisit the babe this week and find that she's really not open to this counselling at all. And I didn't expect it. Did you?
No. Well, yes and no, because obviously we know that this is a sort of a pattern that Flick has, isn't it? She's not very good at opening up and she likes to keep things guarded, and she prefers to have a bit of a a bit of a breakdown on her own or take it out on other people rather than sit and talk about her feelings. So I wasn't surprised, but like you say, after last week, I was kind of hoping we weren't going to go down this road, and that she was going to just try and deal with this differently, because as Tane pointed out last week, we've been here before, and what we did before didn't work. We can't keep repeating that same pattern where I keep watching you, go off the rails, and I try and get you back on the rails. I can't keep doing that. And I was hoping we wouldn't get to see that happen again, but it did look like that's where we were going at the beginning of the week, didn't it?
It did. But I was thinking, oh no, we're back on the merry-go-round. Not that I was sort of wanting to blame her. I certainly don't want it to come across like that, because I'm not saying great apology, counselling, case closed. I'd be quite critical if that happened.
Yes.
But I did expect her, following that sort of conversation, for her to be more open to what this counsellor had to say, or what she was going to say to this counsellor.
I thought at least stick it out for more than one session before going, it doesn't work. It's
Well, she said her frustration seemed to come from her not being able to remember what happened and remember her attacker, and she's sort of blaming herself really for letting it happen. And then she's fixated on, I need to know. I need to find out what happened that night. And everybody around her saying, what good is it going to do? It's not going to change anything. Or, leave them up, those that are investigating it, leave them to it. They'll know best. But you need to concentrate on yourself. And she can't see the wood from the trees when people are saying that to her. Eden, for example, is imploring her at one point to not give this counselling up. I mean, Eden's been absolutely fabulous as a friend.
Yeah.
You can't really fault it, can you? And Tane's still treading on eggshells. He's trying, isn't he? But everything he says and does, it seems to be the wrong thing. She's flipping out at him when he's asking how she's going. And then she has that sort of, it could be him, it could be him, I could be serving him, I could be walking past him in the street, I will always be wondering. Sorry, he's no good to me, she says when people apologise to her, and you're just thinking, are we ever gonna move this along? Do you know what I mean? I was at one point, then she goes down to ICPD because she gets wind, doesn't she, that that's where Cash has been, because she thinks he's been MIA. He can't stand to be around her. But actually, he is also up morning, noon and night, scouring this internet footage, which I'm not sure why she had to go down to the police station and insist she did it. I'm thinking, get on the hashtag on your phone.
Yeah. Unless people had sent it, unless people had sent the whole files, because obviously with social media you get 30-second clip, don't you, or a minute clip on some apps that you can upload. So unless some people had got longer videos and they'd emailed the whole footage to the police station, I don't know. But we weren't told that, were we? So yeah, I don't know why she was sat there reviewing the files on his computer when she could be doing that on her phone at home or anywhere.
If these were all internet shared videos, I mean, they're out there, aren't they? I was just thinking, I mean, it was forever the sake of the scene, really, wasn't it? The dramatics, the sliding down the wall, sitting on the floor. It was for all that, wasn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
This is a soap at the end of the day. Now, Cash, he's getting frustrated himself at this point because he's just getting nowhere. Everywhere he turns, it's a dead end. He's got Tane in her ear. She's not just any other victim. The pressure is on here, and like pressure does, it boils over, and something else to add to the list he should be in trouble for. He breaks office equipment, flipping the desk, the PC, everything.
Nobody reacted, did they? It's a bit weird because what is he, senior constable? So he's fairly high up in the ranks at YCPD, and I'm assuming that office that had this time around had a load of people in that office sitting at desks, didn't it? When normally it's not that busy in the police station, and they were all sat out there. Not a single person go up and went. In England, I think if that happened, you flip your desk over like that dramatically, someone would be like, "Oh my god, cup of tea," you were right.
Calm down, son.
Yeah, but there was they just looked up and then looked back at their screens again. I was like, is that it? Does he do this often?
Well, it's just another day, another rule Cash has broken that he probably won't get in trouble for. Bad Cash.
No, bad cash.
I'm getting a tally going here of things he should be in trouble for at work that he's not getting in trouble for. And wrecking a PC desk and a wall, we've heard.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Our friend Marty, who is an editor on the show, sent us a tweet saying behind the scenes fact that he threw the desk so hard that it actually put a hole through the set and they had to paint it out of the shot in post. So he really did throw that desk.
Really getting into Bad Cash character.
Yeah, did.
Was Nick. Now, they've got the bloke's DNA. So I'm like, come on, lad, run the bloody DNA, will ya? Get to it. Your sister's can't cope here. She's sliding down walls and ruining a relationship. Come on. And he does. However, there's no match, is there? And Cash looks quite... Is he too close to this? The flipping of the desk, it's his sister. He's not sleeping, eating, or anything. He's not going home. Is he too close to this? Should he be doing this investigation? Like, he looks really downbeat when the DNA he gets the news that the DNA doesn't match, or he's not on the database, should I say? So they're sort of still at a loss as to who it is and trying to track this person down. Can we file him into the same drawer as Flick? Like, he's getting he's too involved. He's too fixated on this. Should somebody else be doing it?
Should he be on the case at all? Yeah, I mean, what's the rules for working on a case that's your family member? I would have thought you weren't allowed to do it because it's a conflict of interest there, isn't there? I know this is a soap, and we'll have to Jenny it, but it does seem a bit like he could compromise the case by being too close to it and actually do more harm than good.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just feel like Rose should be on this case, not him.
I do. Or Emerson, where the hell's he?
Well, yeah, not seen for years. MIA. Don't know.
Someone do a welfare check on Emerson, please. And then Eden to the rescue again. She has a word with Cash, and she's like, you can't fix everything. Like, you need to take a breath. And I think, I hope the next crisis that comes along for a character in Summer Bay, I hope Eden's there, because she is somebody I'd want around in a crisis, let me tell you, or someone to talk me down when I'm not thinking straight.
Yeah, she's very good. She's very rational, isn't she? And like very good at coming across as calm, but not condescending, not saying that, oh, if I were you, I would do this. Just that kind of, do you think this is a good idea? Do you think you should be doing this, or do you think maybe this is not the right thing to do? It's quite a calming influence that she's got, isn't it? It's quite good.
Yeah, she's got a good head on her shoulders, and she just knows what to say. And I think I quite like that about her. I find that one of her best character traits, and I hope that she doesn't lose that. As naturally her story progresses on the show. I hope. Yeah. And things happen to her. I hope she doesn't lose that side of her. I suppose is that obviously that old risk as well of her becoming a supportive character, which you don't want either. So there's got to be a good balance, hasn't there? You don't want just to be somebody else's, always the bridesmaid type thing. But it is a really good character trait that I just keep being reminded of scene after scene, if I'm being honest at the moment. Now, something else we're reminded of is Marley feeling a bit crook. He's dizzy here, he's dizzy there, he's walking into walls, he's trying to get to work when he shouldn't be. And he's saying maybe the doc's got it wrong. I'm a business owner. I can't have sick leave, Rose. These surf lessons won't do themselves. And true be told, not before long, he's in the water, despite that very specific warning not to get in it for several weeks, and things take a bit of a turn, don't they? And he's under the water. He's in trouble seemingly until the trailer saying what's happening in the next episode again. And it's Mac and Tani that come to the rescue and save him here. And she's very cross with him, you know, because they're flatmates now. They've got a bit of a good friendship going on. Would that, just a bit of a side segue here, do you think that will progress to more than a friendship at some point, living together?
I don't know. I don't
Do we
see
want
it.
that?
A lot of people on the old socials are predicting it, or at least hoping for a Mac and Marley relationship. I'm not really seeing it yet. And what about you? What do you think?
I'm not seeing it either, and I think that might be because I choose not to. Don't want it.
Yeah.
Don't want it. I can see how the temptation to write that. I mean, you know, they live together. You know, depending on how storylines go in the next few months, I think it's certainly a possibility. Would I want it? I don't think so. But I quite like how sort of caring they are for each other after such a short space of time living together. Quite like that. And even though she's cross with him, it's because she's worried about him. And he was great with her as well through the whole Gabe thing. He promised Dean he would look out for her.
Yeah.
And I'm holding on to that nice friend promise. I think overstepping that mark sort of breaks that promise, really.
Yeah. You don't get with your friend, with your mate's sister, you know, there's a bro code, isn't there?
I would imagine. Yeah. So then but we learn he's not just doing it because he just is bored and frustrated with staying in the house. He's genuinely worried about this business. He's just taken over the board shop, hasn't he? He explains that actually selling the boards isn't the bread and butter, it's the lessons, like it's the regular cash. Someone needs to do the surf lessons. He's really worried. He's having to, I mean, at one point he's ringing clients and being like, I'm going to have to cancel. I'm really sorry if you go somewhere else, but I hope you don't, that kind of thing. And he's really worried about it. And I applaud that work ethic. We don't see it often. So I do applaud it. And he then sort of swallows this big bit of pride and goes and speaks to Mr. Stewart, which was a gorgeous scene. And he's basically just about to walk away after he chickens out, asking him for a break in his rent for the board shop. And he couldn't not, could he, Mr. Stewart? I mean, this guy's tried to save his daughter from a bomb not 2 weeks ago.
And he had that conversation with him earlier in the day, didn't he? Because he went up to Marley earlier in the day, and there's another really nice scene between them where Mr. Stewart basically thanks him and says, you know, I've managed to get to know you firsthand, and I've seen that you're a decent guy. Because remember when he first came to the Bay, Mr. Stewart was eyeing him up, you know, side-eyeing him. And we were like,
where's your papers, boy?
Is he being a bit, you know, a bit of a boomer here? Is he being a bit racist? And then it turns out that, you know, Mr. Stewart had seen surfboard plus tattoo equals river boy. And he was worried that he was going to be some crim from the city, wasn't he? So it was that it turned out to be more than anything else. So we had that scene, you know, outside the board shop, I think it was, where Mr. Stewart was saying, I've seen you about, I've seen you that you're a good guy, you know, you've saved my daughter. So if you need anything, come and knock on my door. So I'm glad to see that, actually. I'm glad to see that.
I am. And it's lovely that it's with Alf and not John, because we've seen this great relationship blossoming between John and Marley, but not Alf. Alf's not really being a part of that. And I think it was nice that it was Alf. Alf's the guy that can pull the strings around there, right? John really isn't. I like to think he is, but it is Alf. And just like, I mean, and Alf, I think it showed Alf's soft gratitude side that we don't see very often as well. And that's why it's a scene that sort of sticks out, because it wasn't, you flaming mongrel, you signed this, you agreed to it, not my problem, which is Alf's normal knee-jerk reaction. It was, you've looked after mine, I'll look after yours. And I thought that was...
He's done it before, though. Remember when Mac was going through all of her trouble with Salt when she couldn't keep up with her rent, and he came up with an agreement with her and was like, well, what can you afford to pay? You know, let's have a look at what you can afford and split it out over. So he's done this before. He's
got it in him.
Yeah, I think he has. I think he has to see it from their point of view, and also I think he has to trust them. Like, I think it does help that he's seen that Marley has got a good work ethic. he's took on the board shot from Dean, and he's turned it into his own. He's made it look much better by doing that little revamp that he's done. He's changed the sign. He's got that little bond with Alf about these stories about Manta Ray Point and his granddad going fishing up there, and Alf, loves the fishing up there. So there's been little seeds that we've been given, but it's nice to see it kind of accumulate into this where Alf can actually step up and help him now.
Yeah,
it's been really nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, elsewhere in the bay, Kate, she's doing the walk of shame.
God. Anyone else cringing at this? I was turning inside out at this when Rose was like, hiya, and then she's like, yeah, see ya. Was it like afternoon delight? Because I don't think it was evening, was it? I think it was just come back to mine, have a bunk up, and then leave at dinner time. It was all a bit cringe.
It's the best kind, isn't it?
I know, but not when you're doing the walk of shame at like 4 p.m.
And then he's chasing you barefoot, like, well, let's talk about this. Like, fuck off.
Yeah, and then immediately
can't get in the car quick enough. Get away.
It's true. God. It's true. God, why did I wear these shoes? I need to run. Yeah.
And Rose is doing the whole eyebrow raise, like, what are you doing? You're like, oh, God. Don't need this for another episode again.
No.
Stay out of my life. And he very quickly does a Yui on her, doesn't he?
Really quickly.
Very, very quickly. And I don't know, is that whole post passion regret? I don't know. Like everyone's been in his ear about it, and he seems to be sort of, I'll do it my way, stay out of it. And now he got his end away. Like he's now decided, actually, not for me. It doesn't paint him in a good light,
No,
really doesn't.
This is another reason why I cringed at this scene. It was like, it'd not even been 5 minutes and he was already like, oh, this was a mistake. I shouldn't have done this. I'm not a very good friend. Oh, I agree with you, Xander, but this is not the way to do it. Like, he's literally just got his end away and then gone, oh, crap. No, we can't do this again.
Jamie would be turning in his grave. And then I was thinking, is this all an excuse? Like, was it that bad? And he's like, not for me. I'm not someone that can help you through this,
I think he was
using
not thinking
Jamie as
with
an
his
excuse.
Brain. I think he wasn't thinking with his brain. And then when the blood came back to his brain, he suddenly went, oh shit, this was a bad idea.
It was just when they both stood with their backs to the walls. I was like, oh my God. I think I mentioned it last week. So, I need to unsee that. It just doesn't work. Does not work. But yeah, I thought this is really bad. But then it's going to be really, really bad if he's now just like slept with her and thought, not for me, wasn't that good. Like, I'll use this whole, you need to get over your ex, your dead ex, not with me. And I'm like, oh, if that is just an excuse, I thought this has just gone from bad to worse. Like, this is awful. Don't think it's that, no.
I don't know. I honestly, because it's been so quick. It's so quick. I can't get my head around. I don't understand what it is that he feels about her. Does he fancy her? Does he want her? Does he think they'd make a good couple? Or was he just there for a shoulder to lean on and then thought, hey, let's see where this goes, and then immediately regret? I've got no idea. I don't really understand how they ended up in the bedroom in the first place. I don't really get it. I'll be honest.
No.
There was nothing exciting. There wasn't any passion for me between them. It was just her turning up and crying and saying, oh, I can't see my stepson. And he was like, oh, let me pour you a drink. Tell me all about it. And then we've gone from that to tearing clothes off.
The leg. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know where was the bit in the middle? I don't know. I feel like this was escalated.
Do you know what's worse as well? Is we only know this Kate because she is the partner of Xander's ex-work partner, from the Ambos. We knew him from 2 scenes.
Yes.
So his death was, disposable, really. We haven't seen Xander really grieving. We've just seen him being there for her. Like, I think it would have been a better story if it would have been Xander going through because we know his struggles.
He's grieved
he's
for
just,
strangers more than he's grieved for his mate.
and then he's bagging his wife.
I know.
That doesn't sound like Xander to me.
It's really bizarre. Like, he's literally fallen apart for patience. He's turned up to a crime scene essentially, or an accident or whatever, found someone that's dead or dying, got creepily attached to them in a short space of time, and then basically spent weeks mourning that person when he's not even met them before. And yet with Jamie, we're meant to believe that he spends all day on shift with him. He knows all these stories about Kate, knows everything they've done in their relationship. He could reel off a story about Jamie, at no given notice. And yet we've not really seen him grieve for him at all. If I was Jamie, I'd be pissed. I'd be haunting him, definitely. But it's just really weird. I'm not really feeling this storyline. I told you last week, didn't I, how I felt about it.
Absolutely. I'm getting a word, and I'm laughing because I'm thinking of that gift. It's a different word. You know which one I mean?
No, I don't think so.
I'm getting a word. Nonce. No, it's not that.
Oh. That was so left field. I wasn't even thinking that.
No, the word I'm getting is unnecessary.
Unnecessary. Yeah, we didn't need it. We didn't. Why? Don't let me go again.
Have a sip.
I will.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Chill.
Marilyn, she's feeling awful about Rue. Al's going out of his mind, the poor sod. And she's now sort of turned, which I'm not sure. I'm on the fence about whether I'm on board with this now. She's turned to this sort of self-pity mode. Have you spotted it? She's all like, oh, Alf, you don't want me to come home with you for tea. You don't want me.
You don't want to be around me. Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm just mad at this whole flaming situation.
I did say this last week, didn't I? I said I was worried
that
these two were going to fall out over this, because I've seen them fall out over much less than his daughter getting blown up. You know what I mean? So I was a bit worried about this.
The way we just talk about really like blowing up. Yeah. Spineless.
It's only Rue.
It's only Rue.
It's only Rue.
Yeah, I'm really not feeling it if she's going to go down this whole woe is me route.
No.
Like, no, sister, you brought this on. Like, I'm not on board with that. I'm still across with you a little bit about it all, and go and visit Rue.
Yeah, she's avoiding that, isn't she?
I'm thinking, you keep talking about being your best friend. Go and blooming visit her.
I've got time for a press conference, but not got time to go and visit Judgy Ruru in hospital.
And I'm not being funny. You know how Irene was with John all the way through hospital?
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You flip that round. If it was Marilyn in hospital, who do you think would be there?
John. Yeah, John would be there with bells on.
Yeah. So, I'm a massive Maz fan, but this, I'm not happy with her at the minute.
No.
I'm getting a bit cross. He says to her, look, let's go home. Everything's fine. I'm mad at the whole thing. It's nothing you personally did, even though you did do it. But you didn't actually make the bomb. So it's all good. And then we learn it's the court case the next day. And then not long after we've learned it's the court case, we then learn that he's pleaded not guilty. It's not guilty, wasn't it? I've not even written it down now.
No, he's pleaded guilty. So there was the hearing, which tells you whether it goes to court or not. So she's thinking, oh, it's going to go to court. I've got to give evidence. I'm going to have to go and stand in the docks. And she's flipping out about that. That's why she's not really thinking. She's still thinking selfishly, it's not over for me. I'm going to have to go and face this guy in court. But weirdly, he's just pleaded guilty at the hearing, so there's no court case. There's nothing, he's just said, yeah, bang to rights, mate, I've done it. Presumably
That's it.
because he wants
Yeah.
a lesser sentence, because if you can probably negotiate a lesser sentence, whether you can
And
with
Alf's calling
this.
him a grub, isn't he? I want to give
Yeah.
that grub a piece of my mind. It's coming back to me.
And we
Yeah.
only get to hear it, disappointingly, through phone calls that Marilyn has, and obviously the Coastal News front page, Bay Bomber behind bars. Brilliant alliteration, as pointed out by Corrie podcast, Talk of the Street.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing we get.
It is, and what an anticlimax.
Yeah.
Where's my secret link to Defoe? Where's my twist? Is it really just a begrudged CEO of a company that he's already been expelled disgracefully from?
Yeah.
Like, that's gone and decided to. He can also, not only is he a brilliant businessman and can run a company, but he can make a bomb on the side. Like, what?
I know. I feel like we needed more than this. We needed more than that sort of LinkedIn picture on the front of the Coastal News page. We needed to see him, and we needed to actually hear more about the motives. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe we will hear it, because it's not. We learn it's not over yet, don't we? Because bloody Marilyn's given out a number to the new CEO now. She's not learnt a lesson at all. She gives out her phone number willy-nilly, doesn't she, to anybody? The new CEO's texted her now and asking her to come to a press conference and talk about it. So it's not over.
That's all PR, isn't it? That's all. We've changed. Even Marilyn endorses it, type thing. It looking tonight though like her and Alf have got a trick up the sleeve at this press conference that they've been invited to.
Well, Alf's game face was on, wasn't it? It was, can you bring them here? Because I think she'd been invited to their head office, hadn't she? And she said, they've offered me 25 grand to go to the head office, sit in on this press conference thing. And Mr. Stewart's like, oh, you're just there to, nod and say, yes, it's all fine, and like paper over the cracks.
Tap dance, he called it. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, he goes away and has to think about it, doesn't he? And he comes back and he's like, can you get them to come here? Because I've got a plan. So
you ready for this, Marilyn?
Yeah. You all ready for this?
Yeah.
I want to see what the plan is. I'm imagining he's just going to hijack the press conference and just be like, "You're flaming ass! My daughter's half dead."
Yeah. And this mongrel did it. This grub. Yeah, I have a feeling, because there's cameras there. There's there's the news are there. It's looking like a proper good setup, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
if it's all the news reporters that they, the Stunning Organics haven't got any control over what they print them unless they do an injunction or whatever. But even then, they run out, don't they? So these news reporters are going to be there, and if Mr. Stewart does go off on one, they're going to print whatever he says.
Of course they are.
Aren't they? So this is an absolute loaded gun when it comes to this, I think.
And I can't wait to see it.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Doesn't have a coroner. It's all good.
But I want to hear more about this guy. Like you say, is there going to be an explanation at this press conference about what happened with this guy? Is he unhinged?
Yeah,
was he on a final warning? What on earth? How did he go from businessman LinkedIn black and white photo to bomber
terrorist? Yeah.
We need some more information. It's too wild. I think I said to you last week, it feels to me like two stories. It feels like it started off being Marilyn needs some money, does the pyramid scheme, turns out to be dodgy products. That was storyline one. Then all of a sudden they went, oh, let's twist this. Let's make it so that she complains about dodgy products online, and somebody at the company gets revenge for her doing that, and then there's a bomb. It just felt like someone came in at the last minute and went, how about we end it like this? I don't really get it, I'll be honest.
Yeah, there's a great big link missing in the chain. There's a whopping great big canyon in between the two sides. Like, what happened in the middle?
We need that.
We do need it, because we've invested a lot into this, and I'm feeling a little deflated that he's behind bars and it was him. I'm like, we're just accepting that. The only person who wanted more, do you see when Andrew, what am I talking about? Alf confronted Cash, like, what are you going to do about this Stunning Organics? They're still trading. They're putting statements in the Coastal News. What are you going to do about it? And he's like, I'm doing nothing, case closed. And back off, bitch. And I'm like, don't speak to Alf like that.
No.
You know? I'm like, what's that all about?
I let Cash off that because obviously we know that Cash is under loads of pressure. I don't think Alf even knows about the Flick stuff, so he probably doesn't realise that Cash is going through all that stuff with Flick.
That's
so
true.
I let him off, but yeah, it feels like we're trying to sweep this under the carpet, though, doesn't it? Because when Cash was like, because he said to it, and that's telling us, the audience, isn't it, that the police have dropped this, that they think the case is closed. They've got the guy, he's pleaded guilty, he's in prison. End of. As far as the police are concerned, they're not investigating it. So that's telling us, isn't it, that if Alf wants to take this further, he's got to do something drastic. He's got to, take over this press conference and one-man army.
This will be funny if Alf gets in a bit of trouble, gets in a bit of bother, and he's got to go in and sort of get another ticking off from Cash. That'll be funny. Suppose we'll see. Suppose we'll see. But yeah, it will be interesting. Right, I'll tell you what's not interesting, and we'll try and talk about it.
I can guess. Yeah, go ahead.
Have a guess.
No, you go. You tell me, because I get it wrong.
Mercedes.
Oh yes, that was right.
Was I not paying attention? Like, this is how I've written this timeline down.
Okay.
Mercedes hooks the band up with big shot producer Reuben Phillips. Interrupts Remy and Brie, rubs Brie up the wrong way. This is verbatim my notes for the pod. He jumps on her bike, goes back to house, where they try and win Reuben Phillips over. I'm like, but you said you'd already hooked. Like, is he on board or not? Like, I'm like, you just sort of peeled him away from his girlfriend, saying that you've lined up this big shot producer, but you get there and then they spend all day ringing his PA who's not answering the phone or whatever. And I'm like, so is he lined up or not? Like, no. Is she is a right lying little Missy.
Yeah, I'd say not at this point. I think she's got an idea, hasn't she, to hook up Lyric with Reuben and try. Yeah, because remember, was it last week when she said, I'll ring around a few studios, I'll get some numbers, I'll ask for mates rates, I'll get us this album, I'll do it. And he was like, yeah, do it, we'll get the money somehow, just get us a deal. So she's obviously been ringing around. Obviously, whoever she's been talking to has probably said, have you tried Reuben? Because he was we've learned that he was at Battle of the Bands, because we had his name mentioned in that episode, actually, when Thea was looking very, very green after he'd been sick, and he was backstage.
He was in the audience. Yeah.
And he was like, oh, and then they were talking about it, and then they were like, who's this? And then he goes, oh, Reuben. And then like, well, probably shouldn't tell you that because you're already like throwing up. But there's a music producer here. He's a big deal. He's listening, etc. So he was mentioned at Battle of the Bands. He was at Battle of the Bands. He's seen them perform. He's seen them get to the final and drop out. He's seen them get to the final by winning the audience vote. So he knows they're popular, not just a judgy panel of music entrepreneurs saying they're good. These are people that are actually going to buy albums, buy merch, go to gigs, that have seen them and like them. So music producers' ears, prick at that point. Yeah. So we know all of this. So I reckon her investigations. Somebody said, "Why don't you try Reuben Phillips? He'll talk to you, and he's seen you play, blah blah blah." But the way that she did say to him, when she dragged him away, was like he's on the hook, and it was rubbish, wasn't it? It wasn't true. They had to go through a whole rigmarole of, oh, do we send them cupcakes? And oh no, let's not do that. That's ridiculous. We're not 5. I like you. I kind of lost the plot with this. Really, where are we going with this?
I think the plot's lost itself. And
yeah, absolutely. It was like, is he on the hook? Is he not on the hook? Have we got to ring his secretary? Have we got to turn up with cupcakes? How do we get a meeting with this guy? I lost it, really. And
I'm sorry, the cupcake idea was lame. Did you not hear?
It was so lame. It was so lame. What did she say? Like, Brie said something like, oh, somebody that wanted a job at the hospital brought cupcakes in and everyone was really happy. I was like, oh, this is making me why does a 30-year-old woman come out with this story? It's just horrendous. I had to just like step away for a minute because I was like cringing internally.
When it was my birthday, I took lollipops in.
Everybody loved it. Oh.
I absolutely agree. I was just trying to work out whether Mercedes was orchestrating this Ruben just to wind Brie up deliberately or not. And I'm not sure. I kept flipping between, yeah, she's doing it deliberately just to wind Brie up and get a laugh and get a rise out of her because, like, I'm going to steal a boyfriend. And then, but flipping between that and, genuinely she wants to make this album. And if it winds Brie up along the way, great. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't work out what was the primary.
I think it's all about Remy. I don't think it's about the album at all. I think she wants to stick around in the Bay because she wants an excuse. The excuse to hang around Remy and stay in the Bay is this album because Battle of the Bands is over. There's no real reason for her to be here anymore. As we keep being reminded this week, she's not actually a member of the band. When she was going off to meet this guy and Remy wasn't available, she was like, I can't exactly speak for Lyric. I'm not a member of the band. And someone else had said the same thing this week. Another reminder, Mercedes is not in the band, but she's still hanging around like a bad smell. So, and the reason why is Remy, isn't it? She wants to hang around with Remy, as I've been saying for the last couple of weeks, and I haven't changed my mind. He's taken now. He's with Brie. It's rubbed her up the wrong way because Remy's always been a one-night stand kind of guy or a fling kind of guy. Now he's with this woman who he hadn't even told her about. We're supposed to believe that these two are right BFFs, but she didn't even know about Brie. And yet Remy's in this committed, unusual for him relationship, and she knew nothing about Brie, didn't even know she existed. So it's rubbed her up the wrong way from that point of view. And also the fact that I think that now that he isn't available, she's like, she just wants him because she's just that kind of person.
Yeah. I think we've said that a couple of times now, haven't we? That she's that kind of person that wants him because he's unattainable. I think she likes the chase more than she does anything else. She wants it because she's been told she can't have it. Spoiled brat.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. Yeah.
And to stick around and to try and basically come between them and, prove that Brie isn't this wonderful person that Remy's fallen in love with, and her friend as she knows him is the same friend that she's always known, etc. I think she's struggling with him being different and not needing him, and her not being his whole life, even though we've never heard of her until 2 weeks ago. I think she's struggling with that, and the reason why she's sticking around is to get close to him and break them up. But she's having to say, oh, it's because of the album. Oh, because we sound great together. I don't believe that for a minute. I don't believe she wants to be on a Lyric album at all.
No. Yeah, I don't. Especially if she's supposed to be. She's got all these plans to go to Europe and all that.
Yeah, go then. Like, why are you sticking around on an indie album label thing? I don't get it.
Well, they're not even signed, are they, at this point? Like, why should she waste her time for if she's so good? Well, we'll talk about the green-eyed monster as well during this whole thing, because Brie, it is rubbing Brie up. It's working. Her plan is working. Mercedes' plan, isn't it? And there's this moment where Brie turns to Eden and says, of all people, Mercedes' biggest fan, do you trust her? And of course she says, no, I'll be professional, but no, I do not. And then that's the moment I thought, I don't know if you thought the same, where Bree's that bit inside Brie that was holding her back sort of, well, just, it's like the dam broke, and then all the green jealous came out, and it took over, like her hearing those words, like, yeah, neither do I, and it sort of justified her reservations, didn't it, that somebody else felt like she wasn't trustworthy either, and therefore it just consumed all her actions from that point forward. And I don't think her trust or lack of is completely irrational either. I think the things she's seeing are happening, and I think but there is this issue of trust. Does she trust Remy? And does and also Remy sort of acknowledging that she is struggling with his friendship with her, and is he doing enough to reassure her? Should he have to reassure her? I'm a bit like, sometimes I think, mate, I know you keep saying there's nothing to worry about, but then you go and leave her stood by the road and get on a bike with her, and drive off into the sunset. And I'm like, come on, like, you've just left your girlfriend there on her own. Like, make sure she gets home.
Yeah.
She might feel a little bit more loved,
Yeah, you're right. She's not making it up. We've seen that Mercedes is basically making a play for Remy. He might
Yeah.
not see it. He might be completely oblivious, but it is happening, and Brie is seeing it, and it is it's real. So she's absolutely right to feel that threat from Mercedes, because I think Mercedes is genuinely after her fella. But I think where you have to draw a line is, like you say, the trust issue. Just because Mercedes is interested, it doesn't mean that Remy is going to run off with her behind Brie's back. So obviously the problem really is that ultimately Brie doesn't trust Remy, because otherwise you just laugh it off, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this moment, isn't it? Because she's confronted her. There's been a big fallout of it, and Remy's like, you do, and so then he's forced to say it. You don't trust me. What are we going to do about this? And now Remy's on the turn here now. Remy's sort of, it's looking like where we're heading is, Remy's like, I can't deal with this. Like, you said you were going to sort this out. You said this wasn't an issue. It keeps being an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying, but meet the woman in the middle a bit, like,
yeah.
I can understand both sides is probably what I'm trying to say. Like, I mean, her saying, I'm going to come to all the recording sessions. Of course, that isn't a sustainable way to be in a relationship. And then the next thing I'm thinking, Remy, mate, she bludgeoned her husband to death for you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Like, so I'm proper seesawing with it.
I'm really worried that what we're gonna get in this storyline is, at the moment, Remy is loved up with Brie, not even interested in Mercedes. He's so oblivious to her advances. He's just not even seeing it. He still thinks it's friend zone, nothing else. The more Brie makes a big deal out of this, the more she gets insecure and changes her personality, and lets Mercedes get under her skin and takes it out on Remy and tries to suffocate him. That I think we're going down the route of, well, if I'm going to get in trouble for doing it, I might as well just do it. And he's just going to do it, because he's thinking, well, I'm getting accused of it. I'm getting treated like I'm doing it. I might as well just go ahead and do it now. And I'm really worried that we're going to go there.
I think I'm worried about this exact same thing. And Brie will look like the bad one.
It will, yeah. And it will look like she pushed them together.
But I did enjoy the little bitchy fight,
Oh, that was great.
Before you embarrass yourself, you spoiled little rich girl and your little crush. I was like,
it was hilarious, because it was so out of character for Brie, who does, she's very, very calm, very quietly spoken, very polite and well mannered, and all that sort of thing, isn't she normally? And then just out of nowhere, I mean, obviously we've seen her bash her husband in, so she's not entirely innocent, but she, in that circumstance, exceptional circumstances, and she thought she was going to die, self-preservation, etc. But this is just pure jealousy, pure green-eyed monster, and just
look what it can do to you.
Bile, just pure. I loved it, but I was like, who is this Brie? Who is she? Spoiled little rich girl. I loved it, but
it was a good moment, a good juicy moment. But it's the lesson learned is, jealousy is still a valid emotion, human emotion, just like the others. And it can change your reaction. You can react in ways you never would as a result. Now, John's out of hospital.
Yay!
Whoop, whoop. And you need someone to stay with him. He can't go home to an empty house. Doctor's orders. So Irene quickly offers to take him in. Now, you just know the second that left her mouth, we're in for some gold. TV gold here, aren't we?
Yeah, I love this.
She takes him back. And he's like, oh, I'm not staying long. Don't want to be a burden. This whole, this loneliness stuff that literally you and I just knees cave, the second there's a hint, a whiff of it in the air, you and I just melt into a puddle, really.
Yeah.
But I really did. I don't feel lonely, me personally, but I really did empathise with him, and I don't know why. I think we've all experienced loneliness in one way or another, haven't
Yeah.
we? At various some point in our lives. Even when you're surrounded by people, you can feel it, can't you?
Yeah.
But I don't know. There was something really real about the way he was like, "Oh, I don't, I won't be long. I don't want to unpack. I don't want to use one of your towels. I don't want to be a burden. I'm not going to be long. A couple of nights tops. I'll be no trouble. And I just thought,
Yeah.
your friend, of all your friends, of all the people in your life, the person you can probably relax with should be Irene. But the fact that he feels like he's putting her out was really sad
It
and
was
really
sad.
real.
Yeah, and it's like he was, like you say, he was shrinking himself to sort of take up as little space as possible because he didn't want her to feel like he was just coming and taking over her life. Because I think that what he said was they'd had that conversation in hospital where he'd opened up to her after he'd had that impending doom, that horrible minute where he thought he was going to die. He said to her, like, I'm lonely. If I died today, I would have died a lonely man. I'm going home to nobody. He told her all of this before we got discharged from hospital. So now he's thinking, oh, she's only doing this because she feels guilty because I've opened up to her and she knows that I'm lonely and she feels obligated to offer me her spare room. I don't think it's that at all. I think she would have offered it whether she thought he was happy as Larry or not.
I do,
So,
but
yeah.
he wouldn't see it like that, wouldn't he? And the
No.
fact that it was really interesting and really poignant that you mentioned that very particular line and that scene, because he refers to that conversation at the hospital as his little wobble. Oh, it's just because I had that little wobble, and that is what someone who is not hiding but definitely suppressing. Loneliness isn't something you just experience and then pass it. It's like this is part of his life, and he allowed it to surface a bit, and when he felt vulnerable. And he spoke to Irene out of vulnerability. And then now he's sort of out of the woods. He's trying to hide it again, type of thing. Like it's something that's underneath the whole time,
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was a really, really important scene.
It was because he's got a lot of pride, doesn't he? He's very prideful. And I think it would have, at the time, he did it because he, like I say, she was there and he was terrified. He thought he was going to die. So he just opened up and said, oh, if I died now, I'd have been lonely. But now that he's not in that terrified, I feel like I'm dying moment, terrified for my life, he's had some time to sort of get past that. He's probably feeling a bit stupid for saying it. It shouldn't be. But that's how you feel, isn't it? When you open up and you're not used to telling someone about your feelings, you're used to hiding it and you're used to putting on a brave face, going to Salt, being the life of the party. Come and have a dinner with me, hang out with me. We've been saying for ages, we've seen the signs that he's lonely because that's so out of character for John to just sit in Salt on his own and beg someone to come and sit with him and pay for their meals so that he's got some company. We've seen it, but for him to actually let someone in on that secret, he must feel embarrassed about that. So I just felt for him. Like I say, it just melted my heart.
I did. I'll tell you what else were melting. Irene's towels.
Fluffy. Bicarbonate vinegar, darling. Yes.
Rolling those for weeks. Now, as wonderful as this all sounds, it soon takes a bit of a turn because John is John and he's taking liberties, stealing a toast and he's drinking all the tea and he's in her way. And
not as much butter next time, Dom.
Dodgy ticket.
And she's like, yes, Your Highness.
And she's waiting on him under footage and he's following her to work and he's hanging about at work, cashing in on his coffees and his cakes and she has to tell him, doesn't she? You're flipping, doing me head in. Go home and rest like you should be doing. And when she gets
her tolerance isn't very high, though, is it? Because she literally, I was kind of creasing at this because I knew this was going to happen, and I said to you last week, I can't wait for the bickering, for them to bicker like they've been married for 50 years, because that's what I love about them. They're hilarious. I knew this was coming, but he's staying with her because she didn't want him to go home and sit in her house on his own and heal on his own and be, have nobody there. yet she's avoiding him by staying at work for longer to avoid having to go back. And I was like, he's still in a house on his own. He's just in your house on his own. So I can kind of see, I can understand from John's point of view why he thought he could just be her shadow for the day. But also, they hadn't spent that long together by the time she was snapping at him. And I thought, God, Irene, your tolerance for people is so low. It was only a few hours and she was like, you're driving me up the bloody wall. I was like, even I've got more patience than that. And my tolerance is pretty low. So, bless him.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I did. Again, I felt for him. But hey, she gets home. She takes a big deep breath. And she walks over the threshold. Hey, he's cooked a lovely lamb roast for her. I think he's got the message, hasn't he?
Mr. Stewart will be peeved he's missed out on lamb cutlets, I'll tell you now. His favourite dinner.
It looked good. Hey, you can cook.
You can.
So,
top of the meat. Top of the, what was it? Top of the food chain, meat eaters. Top of the food chain, doll.
Well and truly.
Carnivore Irene coming through.
And we're sort of seeing this moment of two lonely people, coming together. We don't really see much of it from Irene, but there was a bit like it's nice to cook for someone else, and it's the first time in ages I've been cooked for, and I'm thinking everyone's getting something good out of this in the end. This is good. This feels good.
It was wholesome.
So I did enjoy it.
Yeah, we needed it. It was wholesome. It was nice after the big explosion, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
She spends all day on her feet in the diner, doesn't she? So to put her feet up and have some food brought to her for a change, that was just so wholesome.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of wholesome, Andrew, even though he's terrified of,
everything.
Cult return. Yeah, everything. Yeah. Jumping at shadows. Yeah. He's got the Morgans locked down, doors locked, cameras on, and he's not, his eyes open with matchsticks, watching the camera. Bit of concern going on here, isn't there, with Leah and Justin? This isn't right. This camera thing was a bad idea. He's obsessed with it. Mr. Stewart knocks on the door and all hell breaks loose.
No! Someone here! How does he not know who Mr. Stewart is? They've never crossed paths before. That shocked me. I thought he'd met everybody in the Bay by now.
I'm sure there must be a big mural of him on the way into town.
Say an absolute flaming legend.
Yeah.
Mr. Stewart. Yeah, why not?
So yeah, I would have imagined he should have come across Mr. Stewart at some point. If not, again though, I keep telling you, Mr. Stewart isn't a character that crosses the age gap very well. He's not a John. John can do it. Mr. Stewart doesn't. And I think that's something. I don't know if that's deliberate, but I don't think it's a good thing for Mr. Stewart this day and age. He doesn't associate much. He's only gone round because he's actually quite a good relationship with Justin.
Yes. Yeah.
And he's gone to check in because he's heard a few things on the grapevine, cult, etc. And it's decided that they're going to contact Tegan, Andrew's sister. It'll be the answer to all the problems. So off Justin toddles to meet Tegan. And then we start learning a bit more about their upbringing, don't we? Tegan opens up. They go, they speak to each other. She knows who Teddy is. So that's a good sign.
Green
ding,
flag.
ding, ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's allowed with her. She's passed the test. Sounding like, is this Andrew off with Tegan? Is Tegan here to take Andrew? Is this the end? Is this the end of that? Like, with trepidation, will he go off and live his life with his sister?
In Antarctica? This was a bit of a random, because you're just like, oh yeah, I'm on a research project. I'm currently based in Antarctica. I was like, of course you are. Like, you couldn't be Mangrove River or Hinky Dinkyville. You have to be Antarctica. This was insane. So basically,
that must be a first soap first.
It's definitely a Home and Away first, I think. So it's a big decision, isn't it? Because Andrew, he's either going to live in the bay looking over his shoulder for Vita Nova turning up every 5 minutes, or he's going to go to Antarctica where they're never going to find him. Let's face it. He might feel safer there. I think it's on. I think it's on the cards because I'm pretty sure they're thinking, right, we've written him into a corner here. He's terrified of everything. He's watching these cameras. You think, we've been told that they're not safe. Vita Nova are out of, half the are out of prison. There was nothing we could charge them with, etc. And I said to you the other week, how does Andrew get to feel safe now? Where do we go from here? This is it. You stick him in Antarctica because that's the only place he's going to feel like he's not looking over his shoulder. Isn't it? I don't know. Is it just me?
Well,
it feels like that's why we're here.
It is, and I suppose, I mean that is then case closed. Like we don't have to carry on. But I don't want that. I don't want that to be the case.
No.
I want. It was only the other week we were talking about, Andrew staying there permanently and. Like,
how do we get him to be normal? When he's had such a non-normal life, he's lived in this house his whole life. He's not been allowed to associate with anybody apart from his dad. He was sent into the garden when his dad had friends around. I mean, that's dodgy, but you know what I mean? He's not been around anybody. He's not been schooled. He's not got any friends. And now he's absolutely terrified that the cult's coming back. They know where he lives. They're not all in prison. He keeps saying them vindictive. He knows them. They retaliate. They'll be plotting, etc. So how does Andrew feel safe in the bay? How do we get past this? I don't see how we do.
No, it looks like he's off to look for MH370 in Antarctica.
God, don't. Oh no!
Like, what is she doing over there?
I have no idea. She just had a science project, didn't she, for a research project or something? I don't know.
Looking for aircraft.
I was too busy eye rolling, so I was like, of course he's going to be shipped off to Antarctica where he, it's the only place on Earth where Vita Nova won't find him. Of course he's going there. It was too obvious.
And when the world ends,
yeah,
him and his sister will be. Oh no,
fine.
No, forget it. Yeah, forget it.
Oh. I know where you're going. I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know where to go from there.
Oh dear. I think that might be it. Cool.
Right, Si, are you ready for your say on the bay? Not your say on the bay, but other people's say on the bay.
Well, yeah, I must. Thanks for reminding me of that. I've just noticed my wine. Sorry, is vegan friendly.
Is it?
That's what it says here. Hang on, has someone been putting beef in my wine?
Some wine has fish bones in it or something, hasn't it? I don't know. There's something about fish that's in wine. I can't remember. I remember having to look this up once. Mine doesn't say vegan friendly, so maybe mine has fish. There's something to do with fish and wine and how they process wine, and then there's fish involved. I can't remember. Maybe that's even BS from the internet. But I remember reading something about it.
That can't be right.
That fish and so, it's not purely. I'm gonna have to Google it now because you're doing my head in. So
sorry. This is the content everyone's come for. I'm sorry.
Hang on. Wine, fish.
This is going to be like what's the best wine to pair with?
Is wine vegan friendly?
Oh, this one is.
Yeah. So it's fish bladder extract. So.
Oh no.
Some wine.
Don't tell me anymore. Okay. Stop it.
So some wine has got egg whites in it, and some wine has got something called isinglass in it, which is fish bladder extract.
Yeah.
But your wine doesn't. So the wine that you're currently drinking is vegan friendly. So you're
I've
fine.
only bought this one because it was on special. It's normally dear.
Yeah. Well, just don't read the label on the next one, and just all wine that you buy in that shop that you go to specifically is all vegan now. You know it.
Okay.
Yeah. Just listen to Sophie. No fish bladders. And I knew it was something to do with fish. I couldn't remember what it was. But yeah, bladders. Weird. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about.
Go on.
How did this segue into?
I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm not going to have my say is where we're up to. Yeah.
No, I was trying to just make sure that, you know, it's your say on the bay, but it's not our say on the bay. So it's you lot. It's you lot listening. So anybody that isn't aware of what we do in Your Say on the Bay. So what I do is I scour the social media apps, various of them now, and I look for your comments. I try and work out what you think about the episodes that aired this week on Channel 5 and my 5 and 5 Star, and however you watched the episodes. What do you think of what happened this week in the Bay? And then I just read them out, basically, don't I, to you. So before we get on with the comment reading, if you don't know the drill by now, where have you been? But we are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are on Threads, we're on YouTube, we're still on Twitter. Yes, I will still call it that. And we tweet along with the episodes that air at 6:30 p.m. Monday to Friday on 5 Star here in the UK. So that's what we do. So get involved with the chat. Get on Twitter. I will not call it anything else. And tweet along with us and talk about the episodes that are airing. And you might get your comment read out on Your Say on the Bay. So, Stunning Organics. We have to start with this. And I don't want to go too much into this because we've talked about it for absolutely bloody weeks. And we've talked about theories, and I just can't dismiss it entirely because we've had so many Your Says on the Bays recently where people have shared their thoughts about who they think the bomber is. You know, we've had all kinds of theories, from it being Heather to it being Madge Wilkins, to Jet's potential wife. You know, it could be Vita Nova. There could be some link between the CEO of Stunning Organics and Vita Nova, and maybe these two storylines are linked. We've had loads and loads of theories on this. And people are, understandably, underwhelmed, I think is the word I would use. Yeah. There's been a lot of the comment that I've seen a lot is that it? Is that it? Is it just the CEO? Is that it? There's no twist? There's nothing, you know, a lot of people are saying this on social media. So I'm not going to go too much into that because we've covered Stunning Organics in the storyline, and we talked about this last week because we found out on last Friday's episode that it was the CEO and bang to rights and all that sort of stuff anyway. But I think it would be remiss of us not to mention it. But there has been loads of comments on social media again this week about, is that it? Is that there's no twist? Is it over? I think
we echoed the same, didn't we? Really, we felt like there's a load missing, and really, like it just felt like that can't be it. Sure, you know, like that's just too boring to be true. Type ending.
Yeah, it was too obvious, wasn't it? Because the whole time we thought we were being told it was the CEO, so therefore we were expecting it to be someone else at the end. Lots of people saying, was this storyline rushed? You know, lots of underwhelming sort of reactions, I guess, to this storyline. I'm gonna keep a pin in this because we know that it's not technically over, because we know this press conference with Stunning Organics is happening next week in the Bay. We know that Alf's got some kind of, you know, card that he's going to play.
I was about to say, because we've got a new CEO, but that doesn't mean anything's going to change. And also, like these kind of things, if we let our guard down and think that's it, like it'll get us when we least expect it. Yeah,
it's not over because we know there's more to it next week. So I think this will be coming back on Your Say on the Bay next week, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. But just wanted to make, you know, say that everybody's a bit underwhelmed, really, which is a shame, because I think generally speaking, the comments that I've been reading out on Your Say on the Bay for weeks and weeks, everyone's been enjoying this. They've been enjoying it because it's a Marilyn storyline. You know, because everybody loves Marilyn. And from that point of view, I think people have enjoyed the storyline just because they've got some screen time with Marilyn. But feeling a bit underwhelmed by the ending, I think, would sum it up, really. Just to mention one thing I saw on Twitter, you know, we talked about Flick and her attacker, and the fact that this week there's a couple of episodes at the beginning of the week where she was looking through the footage, trying to see if it jogged any memory. who's the attacker? You know, she hasn't got any memories of this night, or what happened to her when she was drugged. So not many people are talking about this on social media this week. So I think it was the beginning of the week this week. I think it was Monday's episode at 6:30, wasn't it, where this happened? Maybe Tuesday it spilled into, and then we haven't seen a lot else happen with the storyline since then. But somebody on Twitter does have a theory about who that attacker might be. And it's a name that we've heard again in relation to the band this week. So do you remember the lyric are talking about this album and having this meeting with this music producer, Reuben Phillips?
Yeah.
And we've heard he was at Battle of the Bands. He's been named. We don't know what he looks like, but he's been named. So we know he must be important. But people are saying maybe he's not important just in relation to the band and the album. Maybe he's important in relation to the fact that he was at Battle of the Bands, and perhaps he's behind the attack on Flick. Bit of a wild theory, but we don't have anything else, do we? So Will on Twitter was the one that's raised this, said Remy just said he was at the Battle of the Bands. I think it was the music producer that's behind the attack on Flick. So what do you think of that?
I am quite excited about that. That sounds like a weird thing to be excited about. But I think that would be a really good way to take it, because then there's going to be a big Flick is friend of the band. You know, if that, you know, if they have to choose between one or the other, what drama is that going to cause? You know, do they betray their friend, or and get the crack at getting, you know, breaking out, or do they turn their back on their potentially their only chance at a deal and getting out there and getting this album finally done and released, and support their friend? And you know, we saw that they supported her at the actual battle.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's a very plausible way for this to go, and if it went that way, I would not be upset. What about you?
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's got to be a reason why this Reuben Phillips name keeps being bandied about. I'm hoping it is more than just the lyric album, because to be honest, that storyline's not totally filling me with passion and fire. You know, if there was some kind of twist to that, I'd be up for that. So yeah, you know, it's a theory that we'll run with, I think, for now, because we don't have any other one, do we?
Yeah,
so,
I like that theory. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks for getting in touch with us, and because Will actually tweeted us on our account and let us know what his theory was with that. So appreciate that.
Appreciate it, Will. Thank you.
Yeah,
You've got us thinking. Got us thinking.
Absolutely, because at the moment, apart from that, I don't have absolutely any idea of who it could be, and I'm assuming it's just going to be some unnamed random, apart from the music producer who we've not seen but we have heard named. So yeah, don't know. So on Facebook, on the Home and Away UK page, they posted a video, and it was the one of Brie having a bit of a go at the spoiled little rich girl.
Oh yeah.
So you know where she outs her and says, "You're spoiled, you're rich, you've got this weird crush on my boyfriend. Back off, you know, it's pathetic, you're embarrassing yourself, etc." I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what she said, but people had stuff to say on this clip, because obviously this was quite a powerful moment in the week. It stands out, really, doesn't it, in a week that we've just had, and more so because it's not really in character with Brie. You know, she is very calm, collected, cool, quiet, all of those kind of timid.
Yeah, the mist hath descended. Yeah,
it has. The old green-eyed monster is out. So Lokesh on Facebook said Brie just obliterated Mercedes. Ouch. Feeling it. It was a burn, wasn't it? It was like, ooh, A&E for that burn. But Brie won't treat you for it. Absolutely not. Lots of people agreeing and disagreeing with a certain comment that Jean made on Facebook, actually. So Jean said Brie is too clingy. And Debbie said, yeah, I agree with you. She is clingy. But quite a few people are not agreeing with Jean. So Jeanette says, no, she's not. Not after what she and Remy went through with Jacob. Also, she's right about Mercedes. She is after Remy, and she's trying to take him from the band. It's always been her intention from the past, which is why Eden doesn't trust her either. Remy needs to open his eyes and look what's really happening, and Mercedes needs to get lost. She's already told Brie that she doesn't know what Remy sees in them, and that they have nothing in common. and she doesn't realize relationships or doesn't realize what the relationship is based on, and what she does have in common with them. So she's saying she's not clingy, and that she's got a point. What we were saying on the episode. Bree's not seeing things.
Yeah.
Bree is seeing what's happening right in front of her. Mercedes is making a play for Remy. So I think Jeanette's echoing what we said, isn't she, really?
Absolutely, yeah. And Remy needs to take a bit of responsibility for his obliviousness. Is that a word? For being oblivious?
Obliviousness. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, Dan says the same. So Dan said Bree isn't clingy at all, far from it. She can just see what Mercedes is up to. Remy is being silly if he can't see what Mercedes is up to, as he knows what she's done in the past. He is thinking more of the band than he is thinking of Bree. He knows how hard it was for her to trust him after the way that Jacob treated her. He needs to treat Bree with more respect, open his eyes with regards to what's going on with Mercedes, and say goodbye to her and send her off on her motorbike.
Pretty much the same thing, really.
Yeah.
And they're right. Like, we said the same thing during our episode discussion. Like, she doesn't trust Remy, Bree, but her lack of trust isn't based on nothing. Like, this Mercedes is bad news. Like, she's not just being irrational and psychotic about it. Like, she's seeing it and Remy isn't, and you just want to shake the pair of them. Really,
absolutely. Yeah,
people are seeing it like we are as well, which is good, which is,
I think so. Yeah, there's arguments on both sides, but I think there's more people saying that they go on Bree, basically. So Philip says, Bree, fight for your man, she had a chance years ago, and lots of people are liking that. And then Christy's saying, I can't stand Mercedes. It's clear that she's infatuated with Remy. She's going to turn into a crazy stalker. I really hope she leaves soon.
I tell you what is a landslide, isn't it? Is a Mercedes not very popular?
There's not many people that are in Team Mercedes. Absolutely
Doesn't
not.
sound like it. Yeah.
No, Carly says, don't like Mercedes. It's so obvious she's jealous of Bree and Remy's relationship, and Bree is so beautiful. I agree with Bree. This is from D. She says, I don't like that other woman. I don't trust her. I didn't trust her right from the start. Bree has issues. I know that. But in this case, I'm on Bree's side. And Bavna, the last comment on the Bree versus Mercedes, Bavna summed it up as, what a cow. Which I think we can all relate to. So Mercedes, I think we've all met a Mercedes, haven't we, in our lives?
Yeah,
we've all met someone who's ruthless, that's willing to just stomp over someone to get what they want, and they usually get their comeuppance on the soap, don't they? So I'm waiting to see what happens to Mercedes, really.
And in life, those people end up alone in the end.
Normally, we'll have to see what justice, what karma gets Mercedes, I think. But yeah, generally speaking, she's not very popular. From looking at what people are saying on social media, and I'm not really surprised. Are you?
No, same.
No. Right, so what about this lyric album then? If you had to name this album, what would you name it?
Go on, I saw a couple of these.
Have you got any thoughts on a name?
Lyric with a K.
Lyric with a K, yeah.
Just with a K.
Yeah. Well, I think a few people have said just self-titled, just go for lyric. Jacob said dramas, which is kind of like the anti-Aussie thing, because like the Aussie thing is like, no dramas, isn't it? You say like, no drama or whatever.
Yeah.
Jacob's gone for dramas as the name of the album.
Love it, Jacob. Love it.
Love it. Fani said self-titled lyric, or how about music? So MOOSIK, or basic with a K on the end. I think anything that's normally a single word that ends with a C, but with a quirky K on the end, I think anything like that works. Basic, physic.
What about where's the drum kit? No, that doesn't work.
Where's your drummer? Where's the drummer? Hire a drummer. So lots of people saying self-titled album, lyric, like just call it lyric. But David's gone for, how about entitled? as the album name because it sums up lyric to a T, according to David on Twitter.
No, not holding back, David.
A few people weren't holding back. Catherine says, what about from salt to studio?
Oh.
Bit literal, but yeah, I like it. Richard on Twitter says, how about Theo and Friends? It's like Thomas and Friends, isn't it? It's pretty much
I
true,
can imagine that going down well with Kirby.
I know.
Let's call the new lead singer, the latest member to join. Also, he just dumped me.
Theo and Friends. Well, they are friends now, aren't they? That rubs it in a bit more, doesn't it? That
Wait,
they,
as he put Theo's head on the front of Thomas.
No, but we can probably Photoshop that at some
Let's
point.
sort that this weekend, yeah.
Yeah, Theo and Friends. I'm on it. It's my homework. And then one last entry from Love AJ on Twitter said, let's get lyrical. Lyrical. I want to get lyrical. Work for Olivia. Why not?
I like
Could
that.
be.
I've just got this lycra image.
Oh, that's what I said. I said, well, I'll go with that, but only if we get leg warmers, and headbands and some day glow neon.
I reckon.
Lycra.
Yeah, and I reckon we should go to the UK launch party dressed like that.
Absolutely.
Of the album. Do you think there's a plan to put this album on? Like, come on, get this album streaming. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm surprised the show haven't done that. Is it like a rights thing or?
I've definitely seen some comments on Facebook that would suggest there are people that would be interested in it because people have been wanting to download Someone Like You and Song for Cash, which is apparently called. Oh, Marty told us, and I've forgotten it already. All of
Is
you.
it all of or all for you or something?
I have to think of John Leonard's because like John Legend's All of Me loves all of you.
Yeah.
I have to think of that and then remember what the end is. So it's All of You. That's the song for Cash that's written by Eden. So people are loving these songs.
Are they original songs? Like,
I don't know. If anyone can tell us, and maybe Marty can tell us, someone tell us if these songs are, does Home and Away or Channel 7 own the rights to these songs, and can they release them? Can people stream them?
Because, surely if they can, they'd be out now.
Yeah, I thought so.
So why? I wonder why not. It's just an interesting.
We'll have to see if this album does get off the ground, I guess. If it does.
Well, if it does, I promise you. No, I'm not promising anything. Actually, I was going to say I'm going to wear lycra.
I want to see the Dayglow lycra, Dayglow neon. Yes, with the sweatbands and the headbands.
I would look like Mr. Motivator.
I'm here for it.
When he's 70.
God, I wish I looked like Mr. Motivator when he's 70 now. That'd be great.
Have you seen him?
It's amazing. Oh dear. What about Alf and Marley then? So the consensus on every social media platform is that Alf is a flaming legend and that Marley is a good egg, and everyone's saying it. So Anne Wilson said, I love Marley. He's kind, he's caring, he's a great all-rounder. Lorraine said, I love Grumpy Alf, but he always comes through to help anyone he can, especially the younger members of the cast.
Really?
Yeah, according to Lorraine, so we can't take that away from her. She believes that.
Okay, sorry. I'll be quiet.
No, you can have your opinion, but so you disagree with Lorraine?
I don't think he always comes good for all the young ones.
I
think he's quite against them a lot of the time.
Oh, do you? Ooh.
I think he thinks they're a load of nuisance a lot of the time.
Probably does, to be fair. He has got that boomer.
I think he's come good for Marley because, Marley's saved his daughter's life.
Yes.
He's seen that he's a good boy and he works well. I think you have to sort of prove yourself to Mr. Stewart, don't you? You've got to sort of.
Yeah.
I don't think he would take any weights and straights in like the others.
Yes.
I think you've got to sort of earn that respect off him. And I suppose
Yes.
that's probably a good thing. You know, it's his thing. It's not a
Mm.
bad thing, but yeah.
I think it's his USP though, isn't it? Like, I think
Mm,
if I could get Mr. Stewart's approval, you know, I'd feel really good. if
yeah.
I got Mr. Stewart to say, you know, like how he treated Sally, you know, if he treated me like that, like treated me like his daughter, said he was proud of me, and said, you know, just this one time, Sophie, call me Alf, because I can't, because I have to call him Mr. Stewart. You know, I'd be like, I made it, I've made it. You know,
You just want to be Sally so you can hook up with Flynn 1.0.
oh hell yeah, yes, I'm up for that. Absolutely. Less about my love life. Laura says, "Oh, Alf, we love you. You're a total legend. Summer Bay isn't Summer Bay without Mr. Stewart." I concur. I know you feel less less warm and fuzzy towards him, but I am literally dreading the day that we have to
Don't
say
get me
goodbye.
wrong, like he's a massive, he's the heart of the show, isn't he? Like I don't hate Mr. Stewart. I've just prepared myself.
I'm not. I don't think I'm ever going to be ready.
I'm ready, me.
Been my TV granddad for like 30 years, and I'm not ready.
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird, but we never see him these days.
I know, and I notice. I think I'm one of the few people that actually notices when Mr. Stewart's not on the screen, and I'm like sitting there and I'm going, "Where is he? He's not been in this whole episode. Where is he?" I'm probably the only one that's saying it, but he is.
It is more obvious nowadays. Now he's cut his hours. It is obvious, in it. He used to be one of the very few cast members that used to be in all 5 episodes at one point.
He did, yeah. Yeah. I really notice when he's not there, even if it's just him, just, you know, getting a cup of tea from the diner. I notice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love him. I love you, Mr. Stewart. I tell you what, people aren't loving. And again, we've talked about this for weeks, but it's come up again this week on social media. So Xander and Kate not loving again. I don't think we're ever going to love the idea of these two together. So Lorraine says, I just hope that Kate doesn't turn against Xander now and accuse him of taking advantage of her when she was in a fragile state of mind following the loss of her husband.
Well, that's what he did.
Yeah, it is what he did. And I can see this turning into that storyline because he basically got his end away and then went, oh, that was a mistake. Oh, he better go. Oh, Jamie wouldn't be happy. See you later, love. He's been leading her on for absolutely ages, you know, several episodes of them hanging out. You know, he went to that weird football match thing with her stepson and her in-laws and everything else. It's just a bit strange. And now all of a sudden they've had sex and he doesn't want anything to do with her. It's seriously weird. I wouldn't be surprised if she turns around and throws it in his face.
Typical bad boy behaviour.
It's so not really
got what he
him,
wanted and now he doesn't want to know.
Yeah, it's not good. And Felicity, not the Felicity, said his track record of over attaching to women, he's creepy. Yeah, like we've said this loads of times, haven't we? He gets too attached to women. He got attached to a couple of patients, didn't he? And was bringing them flowers, turning up to their bedside, and now he's doing it to this poor Kate, you know, that's grieving.
Yeah. It's mental, isn't it? It's something psychological. He's not saying he's not right, but there's something about his personality that's like that. He's, you know, and it's probably something he needs to work on because and he needs to work on it. Like,
yeah, Facebook has noticed that you're creepy, Xander. So we need to explore what it is about you that makes you do this and why and stop basically, because we kind of all thought that when he stopped being a paramedic, you know, stopped going through these horrendous situations where he was getting far too attached to people that he just met that he couldn't save, etc. You know, he works in a bar now, so we thought this was a safer career opportunity, isn't it, for him to not have to go through this grief every time he goes to work and worry about who's going to die, who's going to live, who's going to die, including himself, because at the end of the day he went to work and almost didn't come home and his colleague didn't, which is horrendous. So he should be going down what we thought was a more of a safe path, but evidently not. Evidently he's still attaching to people, and now it's Jamie's widow. So I do think he needs to tackle whatever it is, these demons that he's got, or else we're going to keep coming back to this, because he's going to find someone that's going to come into the bar one day with a sad story, and he's going to latch onto them, isn't he? And we're going to end up down this cycle again. So,
yeah, we're all going to be rolling our eyes again. Wow.
Yeah. He's going to be pouring them a drink, bedding them, and then telling them to rack off. It's a bit weird. And then Lee says there's been no decent match for Xander. He seems like the type to settle down, but he's definitely not a match for Kate or for Mac. So there are a lot of people that are saying on social media that they want him to get with Mac, and they think that he would be a better match for Mac. I'm not personally seeing that, I'll be honest. And obviously Lee doesn't either. He says that he doesn't think there's anybody that's been a decent match for Xander. He seems the type to settle down. So all these people that he's been, people have been saying, should he get with Brie? Should he get with Mac? I don't really see. It doesn't work for me on either of those things. I don't know what you think.
No, and why does he need to get with anyone?
Well, there is that.
I think the poor lad needs to sort of, work on looking after himself a bit. I think, in my opinion, I think trying to get involved in love and heartbreak and all that crap is not good for him at all.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think mixing your dead friend, I mean, this is just disaster. He's making it, and he makes a hash of everything he touches.
Yeah, he does actually. You're right. Not good. And then on another note, so as I keep reminding you at the end of USA on the Bay every week, until the 25th of August at 12 p.m, you've got the opportunity to vote. That
is not long away.
It's not. It's like next week, isn't it? So you've got the opportunity to vote for Inside Soap Awards. There's a category called Best Daytime Star, and we've got 4 people from Home and Away that have been nominated in that category that you can vote for. So you can vote for Justin or Theo or Flick or Leah. So go to insidesoap.co.uk/awards and get your votes in before 12 o'clock on Friday the 25th of August. And I can tell you that Si and I, we've both voted, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
I voted for Flick.
I did as well. Yeah.
So we've got our votes in. So if you want to get your vote in and be counted, insidesoapawards.co.uk.
Quick! Don't delay.
Thank you for listening. We will be back with more episode discussion from Summer Bay soon. Until then, join the discussion online at Coastal News Pod.
Stick this